fucking let it all go. Just let it go. Just let the waves hit
Were you watching Frozen earlier?
Yes, I was. Yeah. The real truth never bothered me anyway. So I mean, like, what does it matter? Like, you're gonna get fucked regardless, whether it's by this person or that person or this entity or that entity,
this system or that system.
Right. For the most part, fucking is in your future,
especially if you want to reproduce.
Yeah, so, I don't know. I mean, like, it'd be nice if people were to engage in honest and intellectual conversation, but what can you say? We're more interested in sensationalism. We're more interested in being scared.
But even like being scared, we refuse to see kind of what's underneath the being scaredness.
Well, no, we just want to be scared by things that we can shake our fist at.
Arg, like the clouds in the sky.
If you have a gigantic slasher coming towards you, you know that's your. I mean, I know that's not real life, but I mean that that's your problem, right? And that's the only problem you have. You zig and you zag. If it becomes there's a huge, conspiracy theory cabal that's after you, then it becomes like harder to
You mean like the Illuminati?
The Illuminati, yeah, exactly, just like those guys. That's a really good Italian restaurant down on Main, by the way. The Illuminati. They have a.
Have you been? Speaking of that, have you been to Boca yet?
I have not. Have you?
No, I'd like to go.
I'd like to go as well. I think it just opened, and I suggested it, and I was like, "Well, we'll give them some time to work out the kinks." But,
I told Logan, I was like, "I want to go eat there," and she's like, "Well, I don't eat gluten." I'm like, I said, "I want to go eat there. I don't."
I want you to go and sit and watch me eat. Yeah. I'm sure they've got a gluten.
No, I'm sure they do.
These,
and also just just do it once. It's fine.
Right,
I'm kidding.
I mean, you've eaten gluten at some point in your life. Right. So,
and you do sometimes when you're like, "Ooh, I really want like that pastry."
Is there not like a pill? Is there not like a
you would think there would be, or like a self-injection you can get, right?
A glute aid or something.
So speaking of this, I was listening to like a podcast coming in today, and it was one of the ad reads that was White Bird Blizzard in a blizzard. That's not how you. And one of the ad reads was for a like drink you drink before you go out drinking, and so it's like a prebiotic that like. So you don't wake up with a hangover. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Like, this is what we're doing? Really?
Oh, for sure.
That was so messed up. But
I mean,
there's something for everything, isn't there?
Yeah. We have uppers and we have downers. We gotta,
And but they're all now prescribed. It used to be that you had to know a guy at a certain bar, right, to get the really good
it's all
stuff.
Pharmaceutical grade these days, my friend.
Okay, welcome back, Screamers, to another episode where we ask, "Are you my mother?" Look, I wanted to do something with White Bird in a Blizzard, but I really couldn't quite figure out what to do. So that's what I came up with.
Well, yeah, your nipples poking through the shirt that helped. That's pretty close.
I know it's chilly in here. So today's episode is one it's actually really female centric.
It is
these films. We'll be talking a couple new films, Blink Twice and Oddity. And we'll tackle the next in our Araki series, White Bird in a Blizzard, a film in which the bad guy, quote unquote, has a really cool first name.
Spoilers. But yeah. Spoilers for a 10-year-old film. But
right. Do you think people know?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah.
I don't think people know that film exists at all. So
right. Well, what's new? What else do you want to before we get into these films?
Right. Again,
what is new, Jason?
Every single time we put together a triumvirate of films, that's the first time that those three films have been spoken about together, I know. And ever will be spoken about together.
But this is why people listen,
because they're getting the stuff that no one else is getting.
They're like, how do you make these weird connections?
Right.
Well, I just told you.
Right. They're all female centric.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like it's and I say this every episode when you ask me what's new, but really nothing. I mean, like it's the same shit day in and day out. And it's, you have designs on A Good Life and trying to do things that you're passionate about. But alas, we just all kind of fall back into the undertow and, let it suck us down until we are no longer. So
we are a happy duo in this podcast, aren't we? I mean, if nothing else, we are chipper and cheery and
I saw Beetlejuice.
Oh, you
Beetlejuice,
did?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty toothless. I mean, there are moments, but it's a weird movie. It is a weird, and I'm not opposed. Here's the thing that I think that it did well is that it kept the fan service and you remember that thing down to a pretty good minimum. Obviously the Shrunken Head guys are more of a thing now. They're more like your minions in this movie, but but they don't do just a ton of there's things in the background, but they don't call them out. They don't make a point to say, and I mean, I'm sure there's some of that, but it's not as bad as you see in these other things that are
like a
rehashed.
Deadpool and
these legacy
just
sequels,
where they're calling attention to these things,
right? Or the things that have been like Top. I don't know. Maybe Top Gun Maverick did it okay too. I can't remember that film at all. Besides Jennifer Connelly, so I've kind of washed it all out.
That's not a real ringing endorsement for Top Gun Maverick.
Look, it was fine. Look, I don't I can do without Miles Teller. It's fine. It's not. Right? Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
Yeah,
Miles Teller is like the male Blake Lively,
but he also I get him confused with Ty Sheridan.
Yes, Ty Sheridan's better than Miles Teller.
I agree.
But
I still get them.
There are a lot of generic and he's not quite as squinty-eyed as Barry Keoghan. But there's an evolutionary picture that has those three guys together.
Right, there's there's a Venn diagram.
I think Barry's at the end of it, right? Do you think that studios executives sit around and go, okay, if we can't get X, we'll go to this guy.
Oh, yeah,
if we can't get Barry, we're going to go to Ty, and if we can't get Ty, we'll go to Miles. And if we can't get Miles, we'll just get an unknown.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where the term poor man's X comes from, right? It's well, we can't get this guy, but we can get this guy, and he kind of looks like him, especially if you do squint.
Right. So back to Beetlejuice. That Monica Bellucci, but what the fuck? Who is it? I don't know. Bellucci, yeah. The girl from Saturday Night Live. She has nothing to. She's the big bad in this movie, but she has nothing to do, and she's completely inconsequential. She just exists to drive a plot point where you didn't
kind of
actually
she was in the Brothers Grimm.
Yes, yeah, exactly like that. And it's weird too that I guess everyone kind of had their I don't know, at the end of Beetlejuice, right, all the humans who were the bad, quote unquote bad guys kind of come back around and are made good because we're all okay with the Maitlands and the Harry Belafonte music, and it's all fine. There's they come around to accepting Lydia and blah 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 whatever. But now they're all I guess it's fine that they're all good people, and this one they're not. The bad guy aspect of Beetlejuice is really annoying, but they don't do a whole hell of a lot with it. So you're just whatever. I don't think that this one will be remembered. I mean, there's a classic, and then there's a Ghostbusters 2, and then everyone will forget Ghostbusters. So even though I like Ghostbusters 2.
I was just thinking of that too. But is there a film like that is as beloved as the first one or the original? And I don't say Godfather 2, right? But I mean,
right.
Is Toy Story 2 one of those where you're this is.
I mean, Toy Story 2 clearly has the better plot, right? You've already established the rules, and now you've got, a much deeper story in Toy Story 2. I mean, not really, because everything else ramps up. I think Gremlins 2 is the perfect example of of doing that and not trying to replicate the first one, or doing it to such an nth degree that it's just silly and becomes its own thing, and it's dismissed immediately, but then kind of has people circle back to it. But Back to the Future 2 becomes so silly and convoluted with the timelines, and then Jay Fox playing the is that what we call him now?
I was just going to ask, that's a weird what kind of terms are you guys on?
Right. Me and Mickey J, or he's doing the multiple roles, even playing female roles, and it gets to be silly.
Is that where Murphy got the idea in Norbit or whatever? Okay.
Yes, it's absolutely where he got that idea. He was holy shit, if MJF can do it,
MJF, I like that.
EM can do it.
I like that.
Eddie Murph can do it too.
E Murph.
The E-Murph. So no, I don't know. Yeah. Like, and especially when it's been separated for that long. Like, I mean, it's been almost 30 years, I guess. So,
and I'm thinking like specifically of films like Beetlejuice that are sort of one like beloved, but then also these kind of comedy, fantasy, sci-fi like romps rather than just sequel.
Right. And I think, you might see it in horror, but at that point, like horror changes and evolves over time too. Because so like where, Freddy becomes funny, Chucky becomes funny, Jason goes to space.
Jason starts doing stand-up.
He just stands in front of the mic and doesn't say anything.
It's heady stuff, right?
It's
also cutting edge.
Yeah. So no, I don't think so. I don't think there are. Whatever the question was asked, I think the answer to that question was no. So
I just wanted to check in.
That's really about it. I don't know. Like there's, start of things and the ending of other things, and like it's the cycle of life and what have you. I don't know. I mean, like bad.
So you're saying there's a season?
Yeah, there's for everything.
Turn.
And the Internet Archive lost a big lawsuit today, so they had to so there were a bunch of there was a bunch of it was a copyright infringement argument. So a bunch of publishers were pissed that they had books hosted on their site. So
wasn't the Internet Archive maintaining that it was a library?
It was, yeah. Right. They have an actual physical copy somewhere, and then they loan these books out. But of course, once you've loaned them out, then it's
and so publishers are saying, "Well, no, you're not actually."
Yeah.
But so how does that work then? When a lot of libraries in higher education, a lot of libraries in the public, right? I just mean like city libraries
can do the same thing.
Or have e-copies that you can, for free.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a minute since I've downloaded any. So I don't know the restrictions on the e-copies that you get. And I mean, I think probably the ease in which, I mean, like you could probably, if you got an e-copy from, say, the Fort Worth Library, that you could probably copy it, do something with it, and then kind of quote unquote return it. But I think the barrier to that may be such that it's not really worth the squeeze, right? I think the Internet Archive, my concern with the Internet Archive is that it was a good resource for finding things that you just couldn't find anymore, out of print things. Right. I mean, that's how we found Araki's first two films. So I mean, losing all like so we keep talking about this, but like we're losing digital footprint left and right, and it's just
and losing digital footprint, but that means that we're also losing these physical copies of things that I think Araki's first two films are a good example. Who knows where those prints are?
Right.
I mean, really, does he?
I don't know. We would have asked him if he had come on.
But... I know, that's true. Gregg, if you're listening,
right?
And we know about this podcast now. But tell us about that.
Right.
We really want to talk. Look, who else wants to talk to you about those first two films?
I might reach out to his social media just to see what's up.
Who else wants to talk about those first two films?
Right. I mean, there's got to be other people besides us, but not many.
There are people who want to listen to people talk about that.
This is true. Like, I don't want to expend any sort of like verbal exercise to talk about them, but I will listen ad nauseum.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing for us.
But yeah, I mean, I think that as much as I am a proponent of physical media, right, and being able to hold things and use those things, there are some things that like you can't, for whatever reason, get your hands on. And so to lose access in any kind of way to some of these,
like love,
look, love is ephemeral. Love is a concept. I'm not sure that love actually exists. It's become a societal construct that we latch onto and give a definition and meaning to that.
Well, we capitalize on it for sure.
Well, that is, yes. Yeah. Look, I don't think St. Valentine really gives a fuck. If we're sending,
is he seeing those residuals?
Yeah. Okay, do you want to...
Yeah, let's hop into movies.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because the world kind of sucks sometimes.
Yeah, so I want to start with Blink Twice.
All right, let's do it.
So, everybody's dead. How about we start at the beginning?
Okay, here we go. Jess, Frida, this is my childhood buddy, Cody. Vic, my left and right-hand man.
Perfect.
Tom.
Hi! All right, who did this?
This is Frida, Sarah, Frida.
Cute nails. Thank you.
This is our resident wonder boy, Heather, Camilla. Later. What's up, man? I don't know who that is. We're going to my island for a few days. Do you guys want to come?
This is crazy. Did we just jet off to a billionaire's island with a bunch of strangers? No, he's not a stranger. He's Slater King.
Everybody say, making memories! Making memories!
You having a good time?
We're having a great time. We're drinking champagne and we're eating amazing food. So do you think the human sacrifice is before or after dinner?
The legendary parties of Slater King. Not what I thought it was gonna be.
We still have fun. It's just a little different now.
What do you mean?
Phones, please. Wait, for real?
You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do.
I'm having a great time here. But I also have this feeling that I'm like, not.
Where's my knife? Who has my knife?
Oh, dude, your eye.
What? Oh, no, I know, right?
There's something weird going on here.
Everybody's smiling and laughing like 1960s flight attendants. Like, I'm having a good time. I'm like, I'm having a great time.
Can't you feel it? There's something wrong with this place.
Where's Jess?
Who's Jess?
My friend that was in the room next to mine.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
I feel like we're forgetting like a lot of stuff.
Okay, but like, how? Something's making us forget.
Oh.
I need to know what's really going on.
Please, spice if I'm in danger.
Well, maybe not. Let's not answer that one, right?
When tech billionaire Slater King meets cocktail waitress Frida at his fundraising gala, he invites her to join him and his friends on a dream vacation on his private island. As strange things start to happen, Frida questions her reality. So, I have heard and read people say that this movie isn't really about anything. And thank you. I really bristle at that. And I don't think it's a perfect film, right? I think there are some missteps, and I think there's maybe some pacing issues. But overall, I think this movie is about quite a bit. I think it's making a very kind of pointed social commentary.
I
don't know. I don't know.
Okay, so you're saying it's about nothing, right? There's no gaslighting. There's no
right.
There's no I don't. I would love. I mean, I guess I wouldn't. I mean, how do you explain yourself if it's about? I mean, if you think it's about nothing,
right.
What did you go? Was it just escapism for you? This is it's a generic white guy, kidnapping women, making them forget their trauma, so that they can constantly rape them.
That does not happen in real life.
It's not about anything, but it's about that. This is just a normal everyday. This is a day in the life, man. This just happens all the time. So why would we ever Zoe Kravitz is not making some sort of political point or feminist point or
lots of points.
I
mean, really, it's no. I know.
Whatever. I guess it's fine. I mean,
I'm glad that you weren't right. There's really nothing going on there. Well, I mean, but to say that there's no substance in this film, I think is just ridiculous. I mean, to be honest, I think it's lazy too. Even if you're like, well, it's kind of obvious what's going on. Okay, that makes even more of the point. If it is obvious what's going on, take a look around because this shit is happening all the time in front of your fucking face.
Right.
I mean, even those
right, not on a billionaire level, but on an individual level.
And sometimes not in a literal sense, but in a metaphorical sense, which I think is just as traumatizing and just as damaging. Right. So, I mean, I think Kravitz is doing quite a bit here. Right. I mean in sort of telling or pointing to problems in our.
Even if you go to the final scene, right, or the final set of scenes, not the denouement when you come back or the reveal, right? Or not the reveal, but I mean the final conclusion. Sorry, I'm just stepping over myself. But I mean, like,
no, not that, but that one.
not the end, but the end.
Not that end, but the other end.
The end.
Not the beginning end, though.
Right. It's not the middle. It's past that. Not the credits. That's the movie's over. You got to leave. It's in between those two things. The moment where Tatum is saying, "Look, there is no forgiveness. There's only forgetting." I think that, I mean, like, that in and of itself is at least one of the points of the film, right? At least they're trying to make a conversation.
Just
about
that line. When he said that first, I was like, oh, that's good.
Right.
I'm like, that's really good.
Because that means something on both sides of these equation here, right? Where, like, if you take the spacey, Weinstein, all of it, Louis C.K., there's no forgiveness for those men.
Right.
There's just forgetting eventually.
We forget about it, right?
Right.
And then it means something else to the women.
Right.
Right. There's the women get nothing from this, right? But we tell them, just move on. Just move on.
Right.
Just forget about it. Right. Or the best that maybe sometimes they can do is like, okay, if I just need to, like, I don't know how you do that. I mean, to be honest, I don't know how you forget this shit, right? But that's what we tell them to do. And I think too, the emphasis on smiling through this film, right, is not unintentional, right? Because again, right, I said this to a group of young people. I'm like, why do people always tell women to fucking smile? Like, what is there to smile about? But that's what's going on, right?
Well, it goes back. I mean, like the whole the trope or the conversation that was happening, the meme that was happening a while back about a man versus a bear, right?
Yeah.
This is the exact equation, right? And the women in this, I mean, to set up the plot, they are working class women. They're waitresses who get caught up in this billionaire's
orbit.
Yeah, and he invites them out to his island, and he has basically had to buy himself an island because he got involved in some sort of scandal. They don't ever really explain.
But we understand that
right.
It's some kind of inappropriate thing, but nothing that was deemed quote unquote serious enough to sort of bring in the law or like. Right. Sue him or to jail.
Things that he had to work on himself.
This movie starts out with like a meet cute, which is, I think, really an interesting way because Naomi Ackie and Aaliyah Shawkat like kind of con their way into this party, right? To after they're done working, they kind of, figure out a way to get into this like after party and stuff, right? Where they meet, the rich people, right? And it's this kind of like, serendipitous sort of like, oh my gosh, this is really cute and great. They're having a great time.
And there's some note that they've met before, right? That she's known him or that they were involved in, involved, but
they worked the same gala the year before.
Right. Okay.
So, and we get this note from like Naomi Akkie's boss or manager, like, don't talk to everybody like you did last year. I mean, so I think, but I think like those things are so subtle and so well done on Kravitz's part that we lay this groundwork of she's been there before without giving away everything.
Right. And then we get to the point where where something is off. They're all dressing the same. They're all doing drugs. They're all, and then they all end up at the end of the night, kind of running. They're just kind of like this, like, and you feel like it's some sort of euphoric drug high or drunken high.
Yeah.
But this happens night after night after night.
Wake up with like dirty feet
and dirty fingernails.
And fingernails falling off or like blood and weird play. I mean, yeah.
And then throughout the entire time that when they get to the island, there's these workers that are there who are capturing these snakes, which I love that metaphor too. Like the snakes are the ones that are actually going to wake you up, right? It's that.
But you mean like it's a Garden of Eden,
right?
thing?
Right. Yes. Yeah. And so they're tasked to kill all these snakes that are going around the grounds. And it turns out that if you get bit by one of these snakes, or if you drink the poison of one of these snakes, it counteracts the perfume pheromones that they've been giving you to forget what's happening the night before. So basically they lay out a huge spread. Everyone gets drunk or is, smoking weed, doing all whatever else.
And like psychotropics.
Right. And once that happens, then the women start to forget themselves, or can't control their, basically can't control their bodies and are being sexually molested in a variety of different ways. It is a very jarring scene when that happens.
When it cuts to that, you're just what?
Right.
Yeah, it's a hard cut, which I think again is good. right? I mean, you know, Kravitz wants us to be jarred as much as the memories coming back are jarring to these women, right? And I really like that. And I like how we see Aaliyah Shawkat's progression. So after she gets bit by the snake, she starts to remember. And then you see her face, right? Just kind of like darken and darken and darken and darken. And of course, we don't know what happens after that until later. But there's a great moment between Shawkat and Naomi Aki where she's like, I think we need to go. I don't think this is right. And Aki's like, look, I feel seen for the first time. I feel, not invisible for like the first time in my life. And you're like, fuck, man, that's because even without, in a few minutes we see kind of what's going on, but you hear that line and you're like, Jesus, right? That's kind of tough. That's not kind of tough. That is tough, right? Yeah. But I mean, it is one of those moments where, as a white man watching this film, you're like, I know what it's like to be quote unquote invisible in different ways, but not like that, right? It's one of those moments where I think this kind of shows how good Kravitz is with this.
Yeah, I mean, this is an impressive first film for sure. No, she's been in the business forever, but
wait, she has? Does she have a famous dad and mom?
I don't know. I'm not sure. But all I know is
that's a different world. I don't know.
In her next film, I'm gonna go her way. I'm gonna go out of my way to go her way to see the film.
Wait. Tell me which way?
Her way. I'm gonna go her way. If you ask me, am I gonna go her way? Absolutely. That's my answer. Is I'm gonna go her way.
Okay, but what I really want to know is. This is why no one listens, right? that right there.
Well, you just got to know. It makes sense that when I say something, you've just got to know. And of course, the answer is, I'm going to go her way. So Shawkat gets killed. You don't really know that. She just disappears, and the women forget that she exists, right?
But that lighter, right? Which again, another good kind of object that gets planted throughout, and we're made sure Kravitz makes sure we don't forget about that.
Right, because Shawkat never forgets about it, right? Where's my lighter?
Right,
Where's my lighter? Who's got my lighter?
I'm gonna write my fucking name on this thing.
Right. Yeah, these little things that solidify our existence and our acceptance into a world that probably shouldn't or doesn't want to accept us. So when she gets killed, they all start to forget about her, and then but her friend is still the one what's her friend's name in the movie? I forget now. Frida. Okay, yeah. So Frida's still trying to figure out now. Okay, now something clearly is wrong. She goes back to the room, and her room's in a supply closet. And she ends up coming across the housekeeper who makes her drink the snake poison.
Yeah.
And then she starts to remember. She gets one of the other girls to drink the snake poison as well. And that whole sequence then is really, really amazing. So them trying to maintain a level of this is okay and don't raise suspicions while trying to awaken the other women. And they're just constantly smiling and freaking. The terror in their eyes and the smile on their faces. It's such. Again, how the fuck do you say this movie is not about anything?
I know. This is what I mean. Like, what the fuck were you watching? Right.
And then it becomes a I spit on your grave kind of situation where they finally become kind of, they get their senses back. They realize what's been happening to them, and then they start killing or at least fighting back, which I think is well deserved in this film. I think that's why you go see a movie like this, right?
Absolutely.
Is that moment of okay, yeah, we're gonna last house on the left this thing,
right? I mean, it does feel different than I think.
It's not as exploitative as that. Yeah, so I don't mean
no, but it is a kind of on the face of it a rape revenge film, and I think that's what I was going to say. That it has so much in common with those, right? And I think it's definitely influenced by some of those. But it also is doing, I think, something completely different in the first half, right? Or the first kind of 2/3.
Oh, 100%. This is, this to me, felt like, I don't want to, totally do this comparison, but Midsommar and, Get Out.
Sure,
a mix of Midsommar and Get Out.
Yeah. I think there's definitely an influence of, Get Out on almost everything now, right? To this instant. But I don't think that it is, I don't think that it's taking so many cues from Get Out that maybe other people have sort of pointed to. They're like, oh, well, the Polaroids are just like the camera and the flash and Get Out. I'm like, no, it's not.
No, they weren't. No. They served not the same purpose at all.
No, like not at all, right? That's why I'm kind of like, what the fuck are you talking about, right? This is where I just want to fight with
well, I mean, I think it's a natural evolution of what Get Out kind of put in place and made marketable.
Right.
I do think that this, obviously told from a female's perspective, told by a female, I think this is much more powerful. I think it's much more powerful than something even like Don't Worry, Darling, which is kind of in the same vein as this. And really what Don't Worry, Darling did so poorly, which was make your men ineffectual at the end of the day and make them this kind of alt-right incel, like, now you still have powerful men. Yes, there are men that like, and I think there's a couple of things, like what Kravitz does, and obviously being who she is and having the pull that, her family does, like the cast is outstanding. And I'll come back to that in a minute, but also making all of those men kind of the spectrum, like where you have the billionaire alpha male, you have the kind of chubby, Haley Joel Osment that's on the outskirts. That's kind of like, he's probably smarter than most of them, but like also is eating eggs so he can lose weight.
So that someone will want to fuck him,
right?
Is what he says.
Right. Yeah. The big dum-dum in Simon Rex, the elder statesman that kind of is not like, I think the Kyle MacLachlan role where he's into it, but he also needs to forget because he can't, like, he's that older generation that is not really, he wants to be where they are and do what they do, but also he has some sort of moral hang up about what's happening here.
Right.
And then the one who just can't, like the one that's being dragged along, gets dragged along, he still does it, but also has to be completely
he doesn't, remember?
Oh, right, that's true.
Which I think is good. Right. And so, I mean, but this kind of completes your spectrum, right? He's the one who doesn't partake, right? Doesn't abuse the women, but doesn't stop anybody either.
And Slater's just the dirtbag, right? Slater's the dirtbag on his face, who like would have never gotten, like none of those women would have paid attention to Slater, period. Like unless it was somebody who, on the surface he manipulated or like he preyed upon. But he's just a dirtbag. And so
it's kind of like, I mean, most of them, except for the Channing Tatum character, none of these women would really give it any time to, except for the fact that they have money and they know how to use that money.
Right.
To get what they want at the end of the day. And I don't mean that these women are after their money. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But,
But you're wrapped up in a lifestyle that, and excess and the things that we're told that we want. Right. And so it's easy. I mean, these, the girls that come, Frida and I forget a lot, Jess, they come because they come from nothing. Right. I mean, of course they're going to take advantage of this. I mean, like,
absolutely. We all would.
Right. And that's what we're all told, right? We should want these things. And so it makes sense.
Let me have a fun weekend and I'll go back to work on Monday. Fuck it. Right. Let me go have fun. But that again is, I think, something in the film, right? Because who do we blame? We blame the women.
Right.
What do you mean you want to go have, you should have known better. So what the fuck are you talking about?
Well,
right?
and this
don't
film,
dress that way.
Right. And the film also does a really good job of pitting them against one another. And so like to keep them at odds, they are all kind of made to feel less than, but also greater than all these women in different ways. It's a really, really brilliant way of like posting this, this kind of interaction between these women.
There's a version of this film where they end up fighting each other.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lesser version of this film has them at each other's throats, right? Competing in a physical, violent way.
And I think that's when you have the Gina Davis character, right? Who's the handler for Channing Tatum, where she's like, I didn't want to fucking, I knew it was happening. I didn't want to fucking remember. Why are you making me remember? Like, I don't give a shit what's happening to you. Like, I will facilitate. And I don't care. I'm getting paid.
Right.
And yeah, so I mean, like, I think she does a really good job. I think she also, like, I don't know how she pulled it off, to be quite honest, but like the casting of this is goddamn near pitch perfect.
It is so good.
Like Haley Joel Osment's amazing. Simon Rex is amazing. Slater's amazing. Like,
they're all so good.
Right.
Right. I forget how good Channing Tatum and Simon Rex are.
Yeah.
Right. And a movie like this, I'm like, oh, okay, right. I remember now. Tatum's "I'm sorry" rant, I thought was so effective. And I was just like, that was really, and she really like pushed him like to the edge of that. Like one more "I'm sorry" would have been too much,
right?
But one fewer would have been not enough, right? I mean, I just thought that was so good. And then, I mean, that whole speech, and he's right.
But this idea that these men are resigned to be who they are because there's no coming back from what they've done.
Yeah,
I think it's an interesting, really, really interesting conversation to be had. And I think you know, as much as we want to decry, we like all of these extremist viewpoints and the people who partake in those extremist viewpoints. I think the conversation to be had is how, you know, at what point do they become irredeemable? And, you know, I think that's a question we don't have enough because we want to put them into boxes. And again, I'm not for any victims, of course, I'm not advocating for forgiveness. I'm really not.
No.
But I do think as a society, we have to understand, like, once you've driven someone, once their actions have, or there's no, you know, if there's no coming back, if there's no way to, you know, actually work towards for forgiveness or not forgive. I mean, whatever.
Well, if there's no path to rehabilitation.
Right. Yes, that's the word I was struggling for. Yeah, if there's no path to rehab yourself, I mean, and again, I know it's difficult to actually know what's true and what's not, but then what do you do with those people? Like, what do you do with like a Harvey Weinstein, it's easy, right? You just put them in jail forever until they die.
Sure.
But like with the Louis C.K., it's a little bit different.
Right.
Does it become, you know, and again, it's who knows with an army hammer, right? I mean, like, what do you do with an army hammer?
Right.
He becomes a realtor somewhere off in Podunk nowhere. I mean, I don't give a care. I mean, that's fine. That's probably better than he deserves, to be honest.
Right. But I think this is a real question, right? So we do this thing. I mean, as a country, as a society, where we're like, you know, you commit a crime, you go to jail, you pay your penance or whatever, and then you get out, and you're meant to be a better, you know, citizen. I understand that that's not
right.
in any way the case, especially with things like privatized
prisons, right?
But this begs the question of, okay, well then what's the point of any of this if we're not actually working? And then people go to jail, they come out, and we don't give them a job. We won't let them work. We won't let them live certain places. Now, I understand, again, certain crimes, right, are unthinkable and unimaginable. And yes, we don't want those people in society, but this is still the point. We let them out, but we don't let them back in to the world. How are they ever going to not do this shit? Right. And again, this is not about the victim, right? This is not about the victims. This is about the system, right? Because, you know, people should be punished, right? And Weinstein's not going to get punished to the extent that he should. That's the other thing, right?
He's still going to be rich in prison. And
is that this money allows you and affords you a different kind of justice system.
Right.
You know, but someone who makes a mistake, someone who, I don't know. I don't want to give an example because like there are no like real good examples, but I mean, there are cases where whether it's, you know, a kind of.
Well, taking the money portion out of it's really the question, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, so, I mean, it doesn't, because the people that we mentioned all had money or were, you know, what do you do with the middle class or lower class person who commits these crimes who then can never come back?
Yeah. I mean, look, Jean Valjean stole bread.
Right.
And then he got wrapped up with like revolutionaries. I mean, this is what happens, right?
Right. It's
Adria Arjona is in this, and she is fantastic.
So much better than
I don't know who that other person in Hitman was.
Glenn Howard.
Yeah, Glenn Howard and Aruna. But of course, you know, everyone like praised both of them in Hitman.
They give her something to do here other than to be a pretty face.
She's
and
great.
She's amazing.
She's great. Yeah, she's really great. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so let's talk about the ending.
Yeah.
So basically what happens is the women start to fight back. Obviously, there's a lot of back and forth in this case, but all the men essentially kind of get their comeuppance except for Channing Tatum. He's the last one. And they give him the pheromone to make him forget. The firmer to make him forget. And so he forgets in just kind of short-term memory forget.
Right.
That's the point. It didn't really work for me, like overall, like how much would he forgotten? But he's also talked about how he had forgotten his own childhood trauma as well, and like didn't really. His sister realized that their parents were doing something, but he didn't know what the hell was actually.
And
she was
he didn't
about.
want to remember.
And he didn't want
so this
to,
was
right?
all part of that. Yeah.
And so when he forgets in the immediacy of what's happened. So he looks around and all of his friends are dead, and he's like, "What's going on?" And then we cut to. I mean, so eventually the women win. I mean, so they're and we cut to.
We also find out this happened the previous year.
Right. So yes, Frida realizes that, like, and that's kind of why she's been targeted for this event. Was like because Channing Tatum enjoyed the fight.
He also says to her, right? So at a certain point, it's just Naomi Ackie, Frida, and Adria Arjona. They're the only two left alive, and it's just Tatum, right? And he's got a knife now, and Frida's like, "Don't kill me, don't kill me." And he's like, "Why would I kill you? You're my best friend." And he means it.
Right.
And I mean, that was the other part that just sort of like broke my brain at this moment. I'm like, holy shit, like this guy's so messed up. Right. That how he feels about her and then he can continue to do these things is just.
Right. Well, and to do them is part of the reason why she's his best friend, right? The fact that she is who she is and the spirit that she has, but this fact that he still has to treat her like this. Yeah, it's not about, this movie's not really about anything though. That's true. That's the good thing about it.
It's kind of like, is there substance there?
It's like follow that
this
bird
doesn't make me
and
think
blink twice,
at all.
Right? So the ending is that basically Frida turns the tables on Channing Tatum, makes him kind of forget everything, and then takes over as CEO of his company, and now is the one getting accolades, and that's basically the end of the film.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure if I'm on board with that ending. I mean, you have to end it somehow, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily know, aside from just like leaving and letting the island burn kind of thing.
Right. Which I think we've seen.
Sure.
Right. Or what she would have done is shoot him in the head to save Adria Arjona and say, "Stay away from her, you bitch." Right? And then everyone would have been like, "Hell yeah."
Right,
and the island would have burned and they would have gone off on a boat somewhere.
And then Ian Holm would have been the guy who's driving the boat.
Right. But I do like this kind of idea of, you know what, I'm going to take the thing from you that let you do all of this.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep you in a state of confusion, of forgetfulness, of subservience to me, right? And now I'm going to be in charge of all this. Yeah. So in a way, I'm going to do to you what you did to me while getting praise and making money.
Right.
I mean, I think on one hand it feels maybe a little heavy-handed, right? Or a little ham-handed, but also, I mean, I think the idea of it is really good.
I'm not sure I would have done it better. I just like, I think like, and obviously any type of film that gets to be kind of heady like this, a lot of things kind of unravel.
Sure.
or can unravel.
Sure. I mean, like I said, I think this film is trying to do a lot of things at once. And I think one of the places where it, like if I'm going to criticize it, I think she tries to have this kind of winking irony and then this real serious tone and like a back and forth between those, right? It doesn't always work. I think one place where it really works is when the women, one night during the party, they're all running. And then one of them stops and is like, "Wait, why are we running?" I thought that was like really, really well done. And so that's a moment where it worked, but other places it doesn't that balance doesn't quite work, right?
Right.
But,
I do think this will be better on. I have not had a chance to go back in because it hasn't been on streaming yet. I haven't gone back to see it again, but I do think on subsequent viewings, I think this will grow in stature.
I do too.
Like Get Out did as well.
Yeah.
And you'll start to pick apart, some of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like I think it's a really, really. I mean, I think it's on par with Get Out as far as a debut film. From an exciting filmmaker, for sure.
One more question for you: what do you think about the title change?
Oh, what was it before?
Pussy Island.
Was it really?
Yeah. So in 2017, when it was announced, right, it was like, the title's Pussy Island.
I don't think you can. I mean,
no. Okay, so take away the like. You can't put that on a poster.
No. I don't care about that.
Okay,
I don't care about that.
I don't
think that like. I mean, yeah, I don't care about, because again, it could have gone just, I mean, 2 years, or 2017, it probably was just going to go straight to Amazon anyway. Do I like that title? Not really, because I think that's too winking also.
Okay.
I think I mean, look, we just said the other day about how we in episodes ago we wanted Speak No Evil, the trailer for the US version, to just be two couples meet in Italy, and then all of a sudden Speak No Evil. So I kind of like that switch, but I do think that, man, I don't know, that's kind of good. Like, I think the more I think about it, it's pretty fucking good.
Right? I know. That's the thing, is like, because I did the same thing where I was like, you know, like when I first heard about it, I was like, what is this going to be? Right? And I had one image in my mind. I go see the movie and I'm like, oh, okay, wait, I see why they changed it. Then I'm like, no, actually I don't. Because I kind of feel like the original title would have really like
driven
stuck the
home,
knife
right?
into,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, just.
Yeah. No, I want it to have been that for sure.
I know. Yeah.
Because I mean, Blink Twice, look, I mean, it's fine. It's not a great title. And I you know, whatever. It's, because the whole premise is she's blink twice if I'm in trouble. Kind of
but
thing.
as a joke.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do think that had you had, God damn, it would have been really good. Had you have sold it as Pussy Island, and just the trailer is just them having fun and like, and that's it. Like she meets Channing Tatum, like, and we're just going to go off and fuck on this island and get drunk and have to do drugs and do whatever. And then, I think, man, that would have been good. That would have been really, really good.
Yep. Okay, so Kravitz's next film is Pussy Island 2. All right, let's
return to the Puss.
The return to Pussy Island. Okay. Let's talk. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about another woman done wrong. Oddity.
Could you open the door?
What do you want?
You're in trouble.
What?
Would you just open the door? I am telling you that there is someone in there with you. Why do you want it?
He took my sister's life. I want to see what was going through his mind. You said I should visit on Danny's anniversary.
The thought of another patient showing up at the front door here.
Would you allow them in?
Of course not.
My sister would never allow a strange man into her home in the middle of the night.
She's saying some weird things to me, Dad.
She's clearly not well.
Do you mind staying out here alone at night?
I'm just telling you what I saw.
Danny's ghost. My dead wife is not haunting this house.
What is this?
Put them back! This is not real. As I've always believed, there's nothing that can't be explained.
A psychic medium attempts to uncover the truth behind her sister's murder at the site of the crime. Sure. Okay. I mean, I dug this. I think it's kind of a well done ghost story or golem story of sorts. It's got mood and atmosphere in spades. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's not a lot to talk about here. I mean, I don't
like literally nothing happens in the first hour.
I know, but it's creepy.
But yeah, you're intrigued mainly because the main actress looks creepy, and you're like, okay,
Carolyn Bracken.
Yeah. So the whole premise is that there there's this guy who works at a psychiatric hospital.
You mean a doctor?
A guy. He's just a guy. He's just a guy who works there.
Well, I mean, there is another guy.
There's a bunch of people that work there. Well, actually, just two, I guess.
That's it.
And then, well, one guy we know that works.
And other pharmaceutical representatives who come in and out.
Right. There's a guy who works days. We don't ever see him. And there's a guy who works nights.
That's right. We see him.
But that doctor owns a house that he's bought with his wife, and she's refurbishing it. She's also, I guess, kind of psychically inclined because she's setting up experiments in the house.
Well, her sister told her to.
Right. But I think they're still
there's a
tied
connection,
together.
right? I mean, she even says like, we're connected, and there's a kind of like feeling that passes between them. Yeah.
So she has this like camera on a timer, and she's in the tent and kind of like the I guess the basement area of this home, where like it's downstairs.
Well, that's like the main like sitting room. It's like this old. So they're in Ireland, so it's an Irish house. It has an accent.
It's the Barry Keoghan of Tyler Sheridan or Ty Sheridan's American Homes. If Ty Sheridan is a McMansion, Barry Keoghan is the estate,
and Miles Teller is a caravan down the way.
Right. He's a trailer over.
But it's like this old. I don't want to say farmhouse because that.
No, it's an estate. It's like a big it's a square.
Right, but it looks like a castle, like an old castle is what I'm. Yeah, boy, the word castle. I was thinking like fort or military base, but it's right. And so because the house like wraps around.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a middle square, and so but she's like down in what becomes the sitting room, the gathering place for visitors. All right, go on.
No. I'm more than happy to let you talk about this forever. And so she's in a yellow tent, and she has this like camera that's on a timer that's just taking pictures to capture some sort of whatever happens to be in the home. And so one night they're refurbishing this house while he works at the psychiatric hospital. He works nights, et cetera, et cetera. And then one night when she's home alone, this person from a patient from the psychiatric hospital who's been let go knocks on her door and basically says, "Hey, while you were out looking for something in your car, someone went inside the house. Please let me come inside so I can help you." And she's like, and this guy's got he's got a glass eye. He's creepy looking. He's like looking to the doorway, and she's like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna let you in. And he's like, well, okay, fine. Call the police. And she's like, well, I can't find my phone. It's like out in the car. That's why I was going to look for it. Or I thought it was out in the car. And because she threatens to call the police. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, good, do that. Call the cops.
Yeah.
And she's like, she thinks about opening the door and she doesn't. And then she gets killed.
Yeah.
But you don't know who killed her. You think it's the guy who was at the door, right?
Yeah.
Well, spoiler alert. It's not the guy.
Guy in a creepy mask that did scare the fuck out of me when that happened.
You didn't see this in the theater though, right?
No, because it wasn't out for very long.
It was like out for less than the running time of the movie.
Yeah, right.
It was out for an hour and 35 minutes.
I had seen like a brief write up for it, right? So
yeah,
I knew that it was a thing.
It won the audience award at the Overlook, and so
yeah. But it was like at one theater for like one. I mean, you just happened to be there.
right. I actually bought tickets to something else.
Yeah, like, Harold and the Purple Crayon, and then you went to go see that.
God damn it! I really wanted to see Zach Levi in a purple onesie, and I did actually see that movie. So
you did.
Buoy for me.
Yeah.
So cut to a year later, after the wife has died. The husband's still in the house. He now has a new girlfriend, but the person who's killed. So the person who someone's really excited about it. The person who killed the wife was readmitted back to the hospital. He's been killed, and they have a shard of his glass eye. Well, her sister is a medium, psychic as well, and you can bring her personal things, and they can tell, and she can tell things about it.
She has a curiosity shop,
right? And so
Shoppy.
The doctor saw that the person was killed. He had his head bashed in. He takes the glass eye, and he was going to destroy it, but he's like, I knew you wanted it, so I brought it back to you. And she's like, hey, that's great. Let's get together for dinner sometime. And he's like, yeah, sure, let's do that, totes. And then she just shows up on his doorstep. After
she reads the glass eye.
After she reads the glass eye. Yeah. She's also telling him about the curiosity shop and like all the things that are in it because she runs this curiosity shop. And by the way, she's blind. She can't see.
And she's blind because of cancer.
Right.
Or she had brain cancer.
Eye cancer.
Was it eye cancer?
No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm sure. I don't have any idea what kind of cancer makes you blind. I'm probably going to get it now that I said that. So I'll let you know as soon as that happens.
Probably lots of different kinds of cancer.
I don't know about things, okay? I don't know. There's a lot of knowledge out there. You can't contain all of it.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
True. That is true.
So I think, was it Aristotle who believed that like we were born with all knowledge? We just had to remember it.
Well, that's fair.
I'm sure someone will correct me.
I do know.
So you do know. You have to access that.
It.
You have to access that knowledge.
Right. 10% of my brain type of thing.
Or like, what do you know a priori? Let's dig into this right now.
So she's explaining, although it's weird that she's explaining the curiosity shop to her late sister's husband. Seemingly he would know. But anyway, we need to move this plot along for the audience. So everything's in there is she's like saying, hey, she doesn't know it's him when he walks in.
Don't touch this stuff.
If you need something, let me know. And everything in here is cursed. And we remove the curse as soon as you purchase it. And like, so he's telling, and then he's like, hey, it's just me. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to steal anything.
Yeah. Also, I'm a doctor. I don't believe in this
woo
witchcraft.
Here's the eyeball. And she's like, and he picks up the door, the porter's bell, essentially, just a bell. And she's telling him about how, it's cursed by this evil porter from this hotel. Like, and basically, you ring it, and the bad porter comes and kills you.
Yeah.
And so anyway, he's like, yeah, it's good to see you. Come to the house sometime. And she's like, bet, I'm there. And
word.
Right. And then cut to the house, and he's there with his new girlfriend, who was a pharmaceutical rep that he met 2 years earlier. Mm-hmm. But they were just friends. They were totally not doing anything on DL.
No.
And she's like browsing through his old wife's camera.
Well, she finds it, right? Or something. I think she says. I don't know.
And anyway, it's just pictures of him and her, and like the videos and shit like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, then a package comes, and it's a big wooden crate, and he's like, "Where did that come from?" And it's like, "Well, your wife's sister sent it." And he's like, "Well, I'll just send it back when next time I see her." It's like, "Oh, well, you can do that now because she's outside." And they're like, "Oh. All right." So they let her in, and she's like, "Yeah, you invited me to come over and we'd sit a spell." And he's like, "Yeah, I thought you'd call beforehand." But then she just stays. And he has to go to work.
I'm here now.
Right. So I'm here now. And so
also I'm blind. What are you going to do? You going to turn a blind lady away?
Right. I don't have a car. Someone
can't
drove
drive,
me.
can't see.
So they, so now the, there's a lot of stuff going. You gotta see the fucking lineups on.
It's look.
There's magic happening.
It's
here,
a
people.
live studio audience,
right? The Wilhelm was brought to you in front of a live studio audience. So he has to go to work. His girlfriend, his pharmaceutical rep girlfriend, is pissed, and so she's going to go into town, but she can't find her keys. So now she's stuck with the sister. And they go in this little back and forth, about tete-a-tete, and they talk about the gift that she brought, which is this gigantic wooden man who is scary as fuck.
And now he's at the table. And what I love is that the girlfriend's like, "Why did you unpack him?" And she's like, "I didn't.
I didn't unpack him." But he's got this like ridiculously scary look on his face. His hands are like piano hands touching the table. And so he's just sitting there. And so she goes back and forth. And so the two women are going back and forth talking about how like they're kind of to suss each other out. Like, did you fuck my sister's husband? She's like, no, we were just friends. And like, do you think my sister's stupid? And she's like, well, what do you mean by that? And she's like, well, you insinuated that she'd open up the door, and that's why you're nervous about being here. Blah blah blah. And then she falls asleep. She's gonna the blind sister falls asleep. All of a sudden, the man is at the table. So the girlfriend starts to look at the man a little bit closer. The wooden man, and she notices there's these holes in the back of his head. And there's a picture of the sister when they're a sister and the blind medium as they were younger. There's a vial of blood. There's a tooth. Yeah. There's weird shit inside this head, right? And that basically just starts to creep her out. Like the whole entire time, she starts to creep her out, and eventually she just gets freaked out and bolts. She's like, she finds her car. So she couldn't find her car keys. she ends up like opening up the chest. Her car keys were in the bottom of the chest.
She sees the ghost of the dead sister.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Bedroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So weird shit starts to start happening. And and the sister, the ghost of the sister or the ghost of the wife was like, get out, like leave, run.
She pops up, run. Yeah.
And so she's like, okay, cool, I'm out.
and then she finds her keys.
And gets in the car and leaves. And then the doctor gets off work, comes back. Or I guess maybe he didn't get off work. He just comes back because he knows his fiance, his girlfriend is left. And he's like, hey, what's going on? Where did she go? And she goes, well, she left because my sister told her to run.
Yeah.
Because she was always the smart one.
Yeah.
And
level-headed
right, the one level-headed one. But I know that you had someone kill my sister because she's touched the eyeball and she knows. And she's like, I went and killed the guy who I thought killed my sister, and he didn't. And now I'm going to have to pay for that, but also you're going to have to pay. I know that you've got another orderly at your hospital to come in. And that's when we see what happened to her.
Yeah.
Where she gets beaten.
With a hammer.
You don't really see it. You just see like
the aftermath.
Him pop up in the tent, which is really scary. And then all of a sudden he's covered in blood and the tent's covered in blood.
And he's like squatting in this weird way. It's creepy.
Yeah.
It's fucking creepy.
It's really well. The guy's creepy in general.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
Right? Cover up his face. He's still creepy.
So the husband goes back to the hospital and it's like, hey, I got another girl for you to kill.
Hey, one more thing.
And he's like, but he's also kind of playing it off like, okay, I'm going to go get the cops because he's like trying to placate the sister. The sister's like, I know you did it. I know you got someone to, because the guy that she killed, now that she has his eyeball, he knew what was happening. Yeah. He knew that there was a plot to kill her sister. And so now that she knows all of that, and he's like, look, you trust the cops, right? I'm going to go get the cops. You can tell them everything. Like we'll settle. We'll sort this out because they already looked into me. Wasn't me. Blah blah blah. And he's like, I'm going to leave my cell phone here. When I call back, make sure you answer the cell phone. So so he opens up this hole in the floor,
it's like
and then like
door.
Sets it up for her. So he calls. He leaves the house, calls, and then she falls through this trapdoor, breaks her legs and her head, and so she's bleeding out. He sends the orderly back to say, hey, just go get my phone and kill this other girl there. And it'll just look like, hey, this has happened a year later. So, it's a bad luck, right?
Yeah. Don't live in this house.
And so he's like, hey, you're good. So the orderly goes and it's like, hey, you're good. Like, I found your phone. She's going to die. It's going to look exactly the same. And then he gets attacked by the wooden. So she can spiritually or physically embody the wooden man, and he comes and lifts him up, chokes him out, doesn't kill him, but scares the shit out of him. And basically she doesn't want him to kill him because she wants the doctor to be exposed. She's like, I think I would kill you, but I think the worst thing that happens to you is you get exposed and you lose everything. And so the orderly goes back. So he is found at the house, thinking that he killed the sister. So he's back in the mental hospital. He's now in the mental hospital, but he's admitted.
He was in the mental hospital before.
Oh, that's right.
Because then he got released early, and then the doctor hired him as an orderly, and then to do that, with the express kind of manipulative.
But now he's in shackles. He's tied to the bed, and he's like, "Look, I'm not going to tell. I need to confess everything, but I'm not going to confess that you did it." And he's like,
right.
The doctor's like, yeah, cool. We'll let that happen. And then he unleashes a cannibal who also lives in the psychiatric hospital to eat that guy.
And all you see is this guy's head pop up at his feet. He goes in for the toes. It's just.
And so now that the sister is dead, the wooden man is harmless. So he takes the wooden man and burns it.
Right.
So everything's fine. So his girlfriend's left him because the girlfriend's like, hey, I'm not going to stay in a house where 2 women have died in a little over the span of a year. So don't ever call me again. I can go deal drugs someplace else. And he's like, fine. And so he gets a package from his dead sister-in-law, and it's the bell. And he's like, I don't believe in this shit. Ha ha ha. It's very funny that she sent this to me. Ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
And then the scene goes black. And it opens back up, and the porter's next to him.
Yeah, that last scene, that last frame is a fucking banger of a scene.
He's just standing there, they're both facing the same direction. He's kind of slightly behind him at the table, and he looks over, and then that's it.
It's so good. I love that last frame.
This movie sounds ridiculous, and it is to a certain extent. On its face, it's ridiculous.
Sure,
but and it does succumb to jump scares via sound some of the time.
Yeah.
Which I think I'm going to forgive in this case because it's set like I said, nothing happens for the first hour, like really hour and 7, and that's just an hour and 38 minute movie. So I mean, a minute long movie. So it's all back in like he doesn't come and talk to her and say, hey, and where she's like, I know you killed my sister until 107.
Right.
And so all the rest of it is just creep factor, but it keeps your attention the entire time. It's a slow burn, but it keeps your attention the entire time.
And it looks good.
All of it looks wonderful. Yeah. Like it does its cuts. It does its cuts backwards to the past. Well, like everyone's committed to this. It doesn't wink at all. And like, it just, everything is like, there's nothing superfluous in this movie, even and so like when I watched this and I watched it after I watched Longlegs, I was just like, why is this not getting the same type of press that Longlegs is? Because everything that Longlegs does poorly, this movie does better. Like all of the sound effects, it does away with all of the trappings of trying to place it in the past or like give you all these ridiculous clues that lead to nowhere. Yes, you don't really truly know, like, I mean, like that a witch gave their parents that wooden man, but I mean, like, but there's no real inclination of like wanting to understand anything about he's just creepy as shit and he's scary.
I mean, it plays on that golem, from Judaism, right? Of this like, man made of clay that then embodies what you want it to do.
And then the end bite where it's just where he rings, like this guy hasn't believed in anything in the entire time. And like, so if you compare that to Hail Satan, and this is so much better.
Right.
Like it's just a little bit, okay. Like it's not that fucking stupid ass wink of Hail Satan. This is just, okay, he's fucked. Like he's gonna get his come up. Like, and that's what like a lot of these good horror films do. Like where your main bad guy thinks he's gotten away with it, and he finally gets his. He's gonna get his come up. Yeah. So he doesn't, but credits roll. It's so good. Like it's so like it really was, and like. Seeing it in a kind of an isolated theater, I would recommend like watching this at night, like in a dark room,
right.
Just because like all of the creep factor is so high, and they do all of the, the girlfriend starts to see things on the camera, like starts to see the sister in the camera. The moments where you cut over and there's a ghost in screen I think all of those are really done really well, and they're not overused either. This is not a movie that's trying to jump out at you at all the time. And it never goes too far being silly. When the golem like actually stands up and starts to like, there's moments where you don't see the golem move, you just see him move positions.
Right.
And so there's a moment where he's looking up through the hole, or like, okay, she's looking down over the railing and his head's tilted back, just looking up. It's just so cool. But like, even when he like comes to life, it's not silly. And also there's a moment of like, it's never rushed. And there's the person that he's trying to harm has a flashlight. So like you kind of like, he drops it and then it does that thing where you don't see the golem anymore. And all of a sudden he's grabbing him by the neck. I think it does. And I know a lot of that was probably just by nature of the budget of the film, but I think it does all of that really, really well.
Yeah. I mean, I think it hides any of those budget pitfalls like really well too, right? It doesn't hurt the film, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. The director was influenced by Child's Play and Creepshow.
Yeah. It feels like a Creepshow. I mean, it feels like a segment in Creepshow where again, like, especially like even like Creepshow 2 or the wooden Indian segment, like there's a lot of like Creepshow is this the entire time, right? I mean, every single segment I think is pretty much that bad guy got their due at the end, right?
Yeah. He said, I'm a big fan of those old doll comes to life films, but they're always small, and I thought it would be cool to have one that's your size. That would be a force to reckon with if it did come alive. He also went and found like most of the props himself.
Yeah.
Like, did you see that? Yeah, like browsing antiques and stuff. Yeah, I really like that. I was like, that's cool. That's good.
Have you ever seen the 80s horror film Pin? And it's about this doctor who has a anatomically correct like doll. And he's also, but like he's kind of like a Mr. Goodbody doll where you can see his muscles and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's used for like the dad is a doctor, and obviously he's a little bit perverse, and he uses it to teach him about sex, and also uses it as a surrogate for like things to do right and things to do. So the kids start to think that it actually can talk to them. Like it's a really, really creepy. It doesn't quite work 100%, but it's a really, really creepy horror film that I used to watch all the time when I was a kid. But yeah, it's. I mean, it's not. That's more focused on Penn and the actual doll, but I mean, like it has a similar vibe to, and I feel like I don't know if he's seen that one, but I feel like that had to have been a reference at some point.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Is that like Penn and Teller?
Yeah, no, this is just PIN.
So it's the solo show.
Yes,
solo
it's
version.
just PIN.
He just had to do it under a different name for copyright reasons.
Same but different.
Yeah, go check out Oddity. I mean, you can.
It'll
find
be on
it
Shudder
yeah.
soon. Like I think it's on the 9th if it's on. I mean, which this episode won't be out by then. So yeah, it'll be on Shudder. So go see it.
It's worth your time. Go watch it. Let's get into Whitebird and a Blizzard.
Okay.
You sure?
I was 17 when my body changed seemingly overnight. Flesh and blood and raging hormones. So intense. It's like primal.
Oh God, that's so hot! That boy next door, do you love him?
It's none of your business. But then, one night that summer, everything changed. I was 17 when my mother disappeared. One day she was there, cleaning, making dinner, and the next, she was gone.
What kind of mother would do something like that?
I hate to be the one to tell you this. Hundreds of wives go missing every week.
There were times when I thought she was going mad. She was going to burn the house down.
That's the butter.
It was almost like she wanted to have an affair or something.
Could it be that's what she was doing?
Guess anything's possible, right?
You came here to seduce me.
I know.
It worked.
My father had his own drawer of secrets.
Your mother never loved me.
No evidence. Not a single trace.
She's got to be somewhere, right?
You need to let some of your anger out. You're gonna crack.
Why are you doing this? Are you insane?
Harder!
Please, I don't care what it is. I just cannot keep living my life in the dark, just wondering.
Don't ask me. Ask him.
Why won't anyone listen to me?
Mom? The beautiful woman she once was became a phantom, wandering away in a snowstorm.
In 1988, a teenage girl's life is thrown into chaos when her mother disappears. Okay. This is two different movies. This is two different movies, and it never really commits to being like either one.
Well,
right?
Every character has their own film. Like Eva Green, Maloney, and Woodley all have different. They're all in different films.
Yeah,
this is
true. None of them are in the same movie.
This is. What are we doing? This is dime store pulp soap opera horse shit, and it's not even done well.
But that's the thing. Like, it would be more interesting if it really committed to that soap opera thing, right? Because there are some things. Here's the thing. I think that this movie, there are moments when we focus on Eva Green where you feel that kind of like Lynchian suburban, like things suck in the suburbs, and there's something dark lurking here, and we've got these like Norman Rockwell sort of, not colors, but those kind of like the 50s, 60s kind of like, Formica coloring. And it really paints this like picture, I think, of a constructed life, right? Because it looks pretty fake. Right. And I mean that in a good way. Yeah. Right. But there's just not enough of it. It doesn't do anything with that. It never leans into anything.
There's no reason, aside from the book being set, I'm sure, in 88 and 91. Like, who the fuck gives a shit that when this is set?
Right.
Like, if you're not, if you're not, like, they paint this whole picture of, let's lay out the plot real quick. So the plot is Shailene Woodley comes home one day, and her mom is, her dad's sitting on a chair in a kind of mid-century mod And it's been left that way, right? So it's a mid-century mod living room, and like he's like, your mom's disappeared, and like and he's weirdly upset about it for it only having happened a few hours ago.
Right.
And she's like, she'll come home, she's blah blah blah. And he's like, I'm not so well. If it's like, why don't we go? If you're so worried, let's go to the cops. And he's like, let's don't do that yet. And if she's not back by morning, we'll go to the police.
I mean, I think part of that is that we establish early on that all she does is clean the house, cook dinner, clean the house, cook dinner, clean the house, cook dinner. There's always dinner ready, right, when everyone comes home. So, I mean, I think that's an excuse, right, for him to be like, that's why I'm so worried, because it's so like not like your mother.
And the movie opens up with the mom laying on, so Eva Green laying on Shailene Woodley's bed, and she's like, she's like out of it, like she's not really there, and she's like doesn't know why she's laying in bed. She doesn't know why she's in a full cocktail dress, right? I mean, and so she's been acting odd prior to her disappearance. She disappears. Shailene Woodley doesn't really get affected by this much.
I know.
She just wants to fuck her boyfriend.
And that's fine. She's like 16, 17 years old. Sure.
Right.
But
that's all she wants to do. In fact, she's like, we haven't had sex in like over a week. And like, are you going to come over and let me fuck you? Like, it's just, it's weird.
It's weird. It's
like,
weird.
And I'm all for sex positivity.
Right.
I'm all for like positive expressions of sex with younger people as well, but this was just fucking like, this is the only thing she cared about. Like you get the notion, because she ends up going to Berkeley. You get the notion that she's good at school, but you really get the notion that she's just some sex-driven maniac who only thinks about sex. She even talks about like how once you've had real sex, it's all you can think about, and it's such a thing that is not tied to anything else. No. So none of these characters, that's
the thing, right? Like this is, on one hand, it's this drama, missing persons drama. On the other, it's a sexual awakening film.
I guess,
but no,
but she's already
point,
but she's
right?
already awake.
I know.
And so she goes to therapist. Angela Bassett's her therapist.
Why is Angela Bassett in this film?
I don't know why anybody.
Why is she in this film?
They go to a cop played by Thomas Jane who's slumming it. Like, I don't know why.
Why is he in this film? And also more of him in this film, please.
Right. So they go to a cop, and then like nothing happens. We just go around and like everyone's acting weird, and like, but like, and like Shailene Woodley's like, why are you guys acting weird? My mom just disappeared, and I don't give a fuck about it. Like, because she was acting kind of like a bitch anyway. And like, I think she was jealous of my tits and ass. Like, I don't. So like, I think that she was. And then, but she has all these like
the one movie where someone else is more naked than Eva Green.
I know, right? But she has all these like ideas about her mom, like that. What was happening with her mom is that her mom, for some reason, got married to a man who was this milquetoast piece of S, and or well, not even that. He was just.
Did you say piece of S?
Yes, piece of S.
You didn't want to say shit. You've said fuck 3 times on this podcast today, and you don't want to say shit.
Shit's my bugaboo word. All right, I don't know. Like you get.
No, it's fine. It's fine. You're like, oh, I've cussed too much today.
Right. I only have so many that I can use, and then I got to stop. So she's married to this milquetoast motherfucker who like doesn't do anything. Like all he cares about is work and coming home and having dinner, having a clean home and dinner. And that she used to be this great beauty, she still was, but she's kind of like lost in this suburban. But she used to take pride in making her house as clean as possible, and now. And she was a receptionist and went to school and like.
And she had some kind of like wild past or something, right. But like none of that's ever.
Or she was a model or some shit. I mean, like,
but we don't see any of that shit,
and none of it fucking matters,
right?
Like none of it matters, and like, and all of this is being told again through a God for fucking saken voice over.
Look,
man.
he's never going to come on the show now.
No, I know he's not. I know he's not.
Sorry.
Like I know. I don't think he was going to come on the show to begin with. Look, I mean, is it not okay that we are critical of certain?
No, I think it is.
Work?
I think it is. I think it is. I was kidding, right? Because I thought the same thing. I'm like, why? Why another voiceover? I mean, I get it, right? This is based on a novel, and the novel is told from.
But there's nothing.
Kat is the character, but why, you don't have to do that every time.
There's nothing deep in this.
You don't have to. Right.
We would have gotten all of it.
I mean, why was there a voiceover in Kaboom or Splendor? Like none of this.
Like he starts it in Splendor, and then it gets just progressive. It never goes away. Like Mysterious Skin, it doesn't. It's quite as pervasive, but every other time, it's just like even in Smiley fucking Face, there's a voiceover. It's hers.
I forget smiley face.
You've already blocked it out.
Yeah, that movie does not exist. Even though people like gave it good reviews, that movie does not exist.
And so nothing happens. Like she talks to the therapist, like then she goes and fucks the detective because she thinks he's hot and her boyfriend's putting her off. He doesn't want to fuck her anymore.
Like,
and
fine, good for you.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no other boys in high school besides her one gay friend and her other friend and who's a female, and so she has no one to fuck. She has no one to fuck, so she goes and fucks the cop. And like, god damn, that stupid fucking scene. You come over here to seduce me? Well, it worked.
I know.
I'm seduced.
What the fuck?
You know what's going to happen now? I'm going to stick my pee-pee in your pee-pee. Didn't actually say that, but I swear to God, if I had I would have been like, all right, well, whatever, it's fine. This is a stupid-ass movie.
What? I know. What the fuck? What is going on?
She calls the detective and is like, I've got information about my mom. And he's like, all right, well, I guess come over to my house and tell me the information. And so she goes over in this mini skirt.
Because that makes sense. Like, yeah.
And then they end up having sex. He gives her a beer and they end up having sex.
That's all it takes is one beer.
Right.
Don't drink, girls.
So then she graduates and goes off to college.
And we jump forward.
Yes, from 88 to 91. And then so she's about to come home for for Thanksgiving. And she's in her bedroom with fucking where? Again, okay, she's in her bedroom with her friend. And it's like, hey, you should go tell that dumbass that you fucked back in Podunk, wherever you were from, that you're not going to fuck him anymore because you're fucking some college guy and he's smart and good looking. And then we cut to that scene where he's like trying to control her about what she wants to smoke or not.
Yeah,
and again, we don't see that guy ever again. And so that was a scene that was absolutely necessary to plot.
We didn't need any of that scene.
We didn't need any.
All we needed to see her was coming home, right?
Right. So
3 years later, she comes home.
She comes home, and then everything starts to unravel. Right. Then the cop, she goes to fuck the cop, and the cop's like, look, I think your dad killed your mom.
Yeah.
And then she goes to her old boyfriend. She's like, why didn't you fuck me anymore? Were you fucking my mom? Because I walked in on you doing other things with my mom, and like you guys were being playful and what have you. And the movie completely sets up that he's fucking her. Like everything about this is like, oh, he sees her by the pool and call me Eva, not Mrs. whatever.
And he's always shirtless.
Not Eva. It wasn't What's her name? I can't forget her name.
Eve.
Okay,
Eve.
Well, I was close then.
Did you? So I found. I read like a few pages of the book.
Good for you. I can't imagine why.
Well, I was curious, right?
Right.
I know the author's poetry.
Okay.
I don't know her fiction, but I saw that. So I read a few pages of the book. So her name is Eve, and they live in Garden Heights, Ohio.
Some horseshit town, right? Doesn't really exist.
Garden. What the fuck? Seriously, why? Why do that novel? Why?
It's like in The Butterfly Effect when Ashton Kutcher's name is Even Trayborn, so Event Reborn. He was going to be named Chris Trayborn, but they changed it.
God. Yeah, right. But
yes.
So they do everything possible to make you think that this guy is boning the mom.
Right.
Also in the book, he's like way more clean cut.
Oh, really? Then he's
straight edge. Yeah.
I mean, he's playing Atari in 1988, so well past the time where Atari was.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
His mom is blind, which I guess that means something.
Yeah, like why does she need to be blind? Because it made no difference in this movie.
It didn't.
I mean, maybe it made a difference in the book, but it made no difference in this movie. So anyway, yeah, they set us up to think like, oh my gosh, Phil is his name. Phil is boning Eve.
Right, and so she confronts Phil, and she's like, "Did you fuck my mom? Because the cop thinks my dad killed my mom. Did you fuck my mom? Is that why my dad killed my mom?" And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. You need to talk to your dad.
Yeah, your dad knows. Your dad knows where your mom is.
Right. And so then
had her up his sleeve this whole time.
Then she has friends over late one night, and they're all just drinking champagne. And Gabri Sidibe goes to put the champagne in the freezer, but the freezer is locked.
Well, hang on, because that's when she tells them, like, "Hey, that hot detective I've been boning, he thinks my dad killed my mom." And her friends look at each other and they go,
"We all knew that shit from a long time ago.
We told you. We told you that." And she's like,
No.
And then
we're the only two characters in this movie that exist.
I know. And they're like, let's put this champagne in this like
obvious
big, huge
meat
freezer. Right.
Which had had an appearance earlier in the movie when everything spoiled and got unplugged.
Yeah.
Which makes you think that the dad killed somebody else.
Right.
And put them in the freezer.
There are so many like weird misdirects in this movie.
Well, okay. So there's a lock on the freezer, and then the dad, conveniently comes downstairs and says, like, your friends need to leave and stop fucking with my freezer. And they're like, what are you doing? Like, you can't talk to my friends that way. And he's like, yeah, get the fuck out of my house. It's my house, my rules. She's like, I'm a grown up. He's like, fuck off. No, get the fuck out. And she's like, how could you embarrass me in front of my friends? I'm going to go talk to my boyfriend and ask him if you killed mom. And like, and so they leave, and then she gets on and she's like, all right, but like, it's fine. Like she goes, so the next day she goes and she remembers that the combination on the lock, which
from
is
his porn stash,
fucking 36, 24, 36, which is stupid in and of itself. But yeah, she used to know it when it was a kid because the lock, the combination was on the back of the lock to his porn stash, which we see a scene of Maloney jerking off to Hustler, which is another misdirect.
That's what I mean, right?
Like, why are you showing him jerking off to heterosexual porn?
Right.
When obviously, spoiler alert, he's been gay and he's the one who's been fucking Phil the entire time. And Eve walked in on them, and she starts to laugh at him, and he chokes her out in a moment of passion. Blah blah blah. We'll get to that in a second. So she goes and opens the freezer, and he's cleared out her mom. He took her out. And so now it's only just freezer burns, Stouffer's dinners and things like that inside the freezer.
That's a lot of. Like,
it's a lot for a guy who lives by himself. That was a lot of frozen dinners.
And look, Christopher Maloney probably does not eat that stuff.
No, he's
even in this movie,
he's a very fit man.
He's a pretty fit guy, right?
And so she's like, how could I have ever doubted my loving father? Like
weird dad. He's a
weird but loving dad who's like just upset that his wife is gone. And he's like, you know what? Just clean up the mess and we'll go to the airport and get you gone back to Berkeley. And so she does. She cleans up the mess. She puts the freezer stuff back in the freezer, closes it. They get to Berkeley. So they're like, yeah, we're good, right? I love you. You love me. Okay, I'm going to go back to college. That's the last I ever saw from my dad because he got drunk in a bar and admitted to killing my mom 3 weeks later. That's what the fucking movie does.
Yep.
Like like what?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it. We don't.
He hung himself in a jail cell.
He hung himself in a jail cell, and now she's just at there's one that's way worse than killing her mom. Now she's got to go deal with like a home, and like she's in the middle of Berkeley. She's like, who's going to pay her tuition? Like all kinds of shit goes wrong in that scenario. This is a fucking horrible film. Like it's so bonkers. And what sucks about it is like Eva Green's performance actually is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's in Revolutionary Road in this. Like I mean, like and like has an unhinged level. Like when she's laughing at Maloney when she finds him in bed with Phil.
That's real, yeah.
And like that, I don't know. And there's a moment like that scene is actually really good because like, I mean, one, you've never indicated at all that this guy is gay,
right? Or
is bisexual, or is interested in men at all, or why he would be interested in Phil. He's never interacted with Phil. All you've heard is that when they caught Phil and Woodley fucking, that he got really upset and thought he was going to kill him. But at no point did you ever figure that Phil stopped fucking Shailene Woodley because he was fucking his dad, right? Or ashamed about it, whatever. Like none of that. You only see him with the mom. And so like, whatever, fuck you. Like, and it's a weird thing to like then have this closeted homosexual go along with all these other like 50s male stereotypes and then like choke his wife out of shame. It's a weird turn for an Araki film for sure.
Yeah.
Like what are you actually trying to say? I mean, I don't think you're trying to say anything, to be honest. This is a film that is about nothing.
It really, I mean, and even, I mean, you have to work really hard to sort of take a look at the, heteronormative depiction of masculinity in this film.
Right.
I mean, you have to really sort of like.
You have to stretch.
Yeah. I mean, like we could sort of like, write a journal article on it, but that's too much. I can't.
And this
There's
is
way too much to do.
This is Eva Green's film, or should be Eva Green's film. It should be her story.
Absolutely.
Like Shailene Woodley's not bad in this, but I don't like her character is so nonsensical in one note. Yeah. Like the sex thing is permeated entirely through. She talks to her friends about getting good dick and like
primal
and how like it's like the guy's just gonna like your friend will one day you'll get that fucking like someone will throw you up against the wall kind of dick and like and here okay, so let me throw this out there. Shailene Woodley's 25 when this movie's made, but her character is 17.
Mm-hmm.
No other Araki film has this level of nudity. And I know Shailene Woodley is kind of a nut bar. I mean, just in general.
Is she? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like she's, I think her and Steinfeld are all kind of like, they're that generation of like, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's my old man thing. But, you know, she's with Aaron Rodgers and like it's a whole like.
Oh, that's right.
Right. I mean, I think she's like.
Olivia Munn was with Aaron Rodgers too.
Yeah, I don't trust her either.
Okay, no, that's fine. That makes sense.
I'm worried about Mulaney. But.
Really?
But. Like, so, and what I mean by that, and this is all fine. Like what she's, that's probably a little unfair, but what she says is she's like, I'm going to sign on. If I'm going to do a sex scene, I'm going to be naked because I don't have sex with my bra and panties, which I think was a weird thing to say about this film. But like, okay, fine. You're 25 years old. That's fine. If you want to be naked, awesome. I applaud it. I encourage it. Let's have it. But your character's 17. And like no other Araki film really shows this level of nudity. And I'm like, why are we... This film doesn't need it. Like, why?
Right. I mean, it really doesn't.
Why? Yeah. Like, okay, maybe the first scene where she's looking at herself on her top and she's kind of comparing herself to her mom.
Yeah.
Maybe when it's a brief moment, but even then, like, you don't show her naked when she's 19 or 20. You only show her naked in the 7. And I know she's the same person. I know that time really hasn't passed. But you only show her naked when she's 17. That's kind of fucked up.
It's weird.
And it's weird that you just, like, you show it a lot. There's a whole sequence where she's on her back when she's losing her virginity on her back, which is like, again, okay, whatever. There's a sequence in the pool. There's a sequence when she's standing in the shower. I mean, like, there's a lot of Shailene Woodley nudity in this. And I know that's probably not the only, I know it's not the only time she's been naked, but like, and on film, I know clearly, probably earlier today, I'm guessing. At some point. Shailene, if you want to call in and chime in, I mean, go right ahead. But I just feel like from a perspective of Araki's filmography, like why, like I don't think there's ways to depict playful, passionate.
Yeah.
Like you don't have her naked with Thomas Jane, which I think is a point.
You do.
Oh, that's right. You do.
She takes
off. She takes her top and she's like, and then he's like fucking. Really gross scene actually, but why make it exploitative only for her?
It's right,
and again, this character is such a nothing character. Like I just don't understand.
It seems out of tone,
right,
for what the film.
Yeah, I mean, like
maybe wants to be or should be.
I just don't understand. I never got like, and I don't know. I never understood that motivation. I never understood what she's like. You know, when are we going to fuck again? Or can I come over and fuck? Or like, I mean, it was just always just like, look, I'm sure there are 17-year-old girls that are like that, but like, I mean, like, it just feels like it's a weird depiction and all, but again, it's really, and again, I could live with that but the nudity just really kind of like all of it combined just was really kind of off-putting.
It just seems like it's kind of over the top. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
and for a movie that doesn't warrant it. I mean, look at the fucking poster of this goddamn film, which is her face looking pensively in a white background.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck does this title mean? White bird in the blizzard. I mean, I know that's her dream that her mom is the white bird in the blizzard. What the fuck does that mean?
I don't know. I mean,
this is the dumbest fucking movie.
I made a painting once of a white cow in a snowstorm.
This movie is exactly what I thought it was going to be. I mean, aside from being worse, but like when you see White Bird in a Blizzard in that fucking poster, it looks like a bad Adam Agoyan knockoff film.
Right. No, right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is such a weird, it's a title that tries to be deep,
right,
but it says nothing. Right. And I know that's the title of the book too, but it's just like,
yeah, it's so
and the book is pretty overwritten to be honest. I mean, it's like you're really pushing the metaphors hard in every line, and it doesn't need that. I mean, so that's something else. But I mean, back to your point about the nudity and everything. There's a way to show her being kind of a hormone rampant horn dog teenager without that shitty dialogue.
Right.
Because that's the other thing. Right, it's just not good. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can be direct and that's fine, but you could also be a little more inventive.
Well,
a little more
right.
And I think, Araki is shown. I think that Juno Temple's naked quite a bit in Kaboom.
Sure.
And I mean, we
I guess that's true. I was missing that.
We see weird things in Nowhere, right? With the Heather, but I think what you're getting at is like there's a different tone to that nudity than there is here.
Well, and
let me tell you what you're getting at.
No,
I'm sorry.
I think you're right though. But to me, when you specifically like, and again, I know I'm splitting hairs, right? These are actresses who made these choices and directors who made these choices, and the reality of the situation is different than what's being portrayed on screen. But like when you're, and I don't know why it makes a difference to me necessarily, but like Juno Temple is clearly in college, right? That group of they're young adults,
yeah.
and it'd be one thing. It would be one thing if it was in tone with the film,
right?
But this is again like her character does nothing other than fuck, and be displeased that her mom is that the inconvenience that her mom is gone, basically,
right?
That she has to, but really
she puts getting laid ahead of like what happened to my mom,
right?
And I think that's such a weird thing.
And so I think just coupled with all of it, it just stood out to me of like this is just a weird level of ick that I don't really want in this film.
No, right. I mean, and I don't know if it's like I am curious to well, I'm not that curious to be honest, to figure out what's lost between page and screen,
right?
Because I don't believe that.
Look, this feels like
Laura
a
Kosicki had any part in the screenplay.
Right,
it was just Araki, and that's why I'm like curious, like what gets lost in translation here.
And that's the thing too with the novel. I mean, this feels like a CVS Target novel to me.
It does.
And look, nothing wrong. No shade. Like you got something published, people bought it, you made it into a movie. I hope you did great.
Well, she's written a bunch of anyway,
and that's fine. 100%. I don't mind trash, right? But at least when you're reading this, like if this would have come across on the page of Phil, grabbing her breast or whatever. I don't want to say things. Like I don't want to turn into fucking that podcast where I'm just reading Harlequin romance. Like this is where like
Phil reached out and caressed Kat's breast. Tracing. I'm going to stop right now. I'm just going to stop.
But at least you can like
Phil, she says.
When are we going to fuck again, Phil? I mean, like out of all the things that are problematic with this, like I told you off mic, I was like, I wanted to talk about that very, very briefly about that Netflix film Incoming, which again, I know.
Oh, that's what you meant by incoming in the text.
Yes.
I did not understand. I was serious, like, what the, like, incoming freshman? Like, are you giving a lecture? What is?
Well, okay, so that's what the lecture came from.
Yeah, I was
got it. Okay.
My incoming, here it comes. This incoming. So, Ogno, please talk about Incoming. Because I'm tired of talking about white birds and blizzards.
There's a movie on Netflix that just came out called Incoming, which is being portrayed as like Superbad meets Project X, kind of like it's supposed to be like this new teen comedy, right? Whatever. It like I told you, it feels like it was written by an AI developed by aliens who only heard about teen comedies. Like everything is so fucking stupid.
And preteens who really want to be teens,
right? But okay. So this movie's bad. It's just shit. I can't imagine why. Like it's got Bobby Cannavale in it.
I looked at
I don't know why he's in this.
Right.
And like he's in it
for the same reason Angela Bassett is in,
I guess,
White Bird and Blizzard.
And he's in this like in a weird ass role. Like he's in this where like he's a clearly self-destructive teacher who's like aligning himself with these kids in like bad, but as a joke in the movie, in really bad ways. Like where has some shit going on and like he goes to this high school party and partakes in like drinking and smoking weed, and then he sets himself accidentally on fire. And yeah, it all sounds like it should be fun. It's not even like, but it's all played as a laugh. Nothing's funny in this movie. It's all shit. But it's about these incoming freshmen to high school. So these are 14-year-old kids, right? And so they're trying to make a name for themselves in the school. They're all, and so one of them's in love with his sophomore sister's best friend. Two of them they're all kind of American Pie stereotypes, except for this. There's no jock in this case. Right. There's a rich kid. There's no real jock, and there's no Stifler. I guess Bobby Cannavale plays a Stifler character. But So there's this, I mean, it's just a hero's journey, blah, 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 for all these kids. None of it's funny. None of it pays off. It ignores all the problematic shit. Like, and also there's like things that like where like you take on something like bottoms or there's like subversive shit that they really could have touched on. Nothing does nothing with that. But okay, so they show this party and the main kid, he's like made out with his sister's friend and like they've been friends before, but like he made out with her. So like he's feeling pretty good about himself, but of course he's got to have the downfall, right? So you see this coming from a fucking mile away.
Sure.
And so these other two seniors see this kid and they're like, hey, because he was standing against the wall by himself at this party. And they're like, hey, we're going to go fuck with this kid. And so they find him a little bit later in the party and he's like, and they're like, hey, you want to do some drugs? And, you know, they don't say it like that. Like they're a fucking 19.
Hey kid, I got some drugs for
like,
you.
Like they're straight out of Reefer Madness.
You want to partake some drugs?
And so they like, they put down this white powder and like, so it's like, oh, it's your first time. We're going to get $100 bill and we're going to do it up right. And they put it on this, you know, put on this girl. So they should like the stomach of this girl. And of course the other girl walks in and sees him doing it. And that's how he falls from grace, right? That's how his downfall. He has to build himself back up. But he fucking does, they make him do ketamine. They give him ketamine and there are no fucking repercussions for it.
But like, also like ketamine is now a joke.
Right. Like the only thing that happens to him is that he like kind of goes into a K-hole in the party, but like nothing. And the only thing that bad happens to him is he gets written on his face. And then his mom, he like tells his mom he does ketamine. Like this has the very much the dazed and confused, you know, as they come home for the night. Yeah. So his sister basically gets her nose broken. She's later on in the party for some reason. And then there's, and then he's sitting there and he goes, and the mom's just like, what is ketamine? You did ketamine? Like you're going to be grounded for a year.
Yeah.
That's the fucking, like, look, I understand. Like, I mean, like I just watched Kneecap. And Kneecap, they do ketamine too. These are adults
I was gonna say,
that are drug dealing adults. And they also, it fucks up their sets. I mean, like, again, I'm, you do the fuck you, right? You think the ketamine is the thing you want to do. That's fine. Don't fucking market this shit. And again, I hate to be that fucking guy. But don't put. Why are you so irresponsible that you're putting this out?
Yeah,
like
ketamine is different than weed.
Well, it's different than right.
But I mean, it's different than blow, right? But my point is like, so take a movie like Dazed and Confused, right? Okay, this is I'm not saying like any drug is harmless, right? I mean, fucking clearly, I'm like however long, like in recovery, right? I mean, so right. I mean, look, every single drug I could get my hands on was harmful, right? Even aspirin. but ketamine is a different class of thing, right?
These kids give him ketamine, and like there's again, I don't. And
where the fuck did they get ketamine?
I don't know. They make a joke about it that it's for cats. Like that was the whole thing. Is like it's either for horses. We don't know what it is. It's either for horses or for cats. That's the joke.
It's for yeah. I mean, okay.
And but I mean, again, I don't want to be some sort of Pollyanna prude, right? But. Are we so irresponsible that we're going to encourage 14-year-olds to do ketamine? Like it's one thing, again, like you said, I don't want 14-year-olds doing weed or beer. I mean, I've got a 15-year-old. I mean, at that age, I don't want him doing any one of those things.
I can tell you what I was doing at 14.
Right. But I don't want to
Would that make you feel better about your 15?
Yes. Yeah. But I just don't understand the impulse to not increase, like make these incoming freshmen, like they're 18.
I don't mean in college.
Right. Incoming freshmen in college. Like, I just don't understand, like, what are you fucking thinking? And look, I'm not the guy who's going to say that violent video games cause violence or that anybody's going to see this and go and do ketamine. But it
does seem in poor taste.
It's just fucking weird. And you also had a scene earlier in the film where like, a senior who was selling vitamin D as ecstasy, I think. And like, so like he was selling it to some ruffians and they were going to test it on the spot for fentanyl because they were like, we're going to test it because that shit's out there everywhere. So we're going to test it. And like, but then
you do that.
But then you let a kid just do ketamine off the girl's chest and he thought it was coke. He thought it was cocaine. He's like, I've never done cocaine before. And the guy was like, oh shit, dude, you still haven't. Like it's one thing for Hector to fuck up Smokey in Friday, right?
Right.
And laces,
right.
and make him do angel dust.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, because Smokey's a pothead, right? I mean, like this is a kid. This is a kid who's going to he's in his very first week of high school, and he's doing ketamine.
I mean, giving him like
Like Larry Clark's not this fucking irresponsible.
I was gonna say, right? Give him a shot. I mean, make him like do shots. Do something that's not. I mean, and of course, and don't give him alcohol poisoning. But I mean, like, no, that just seems fucking ridiculous.
I'm not saying censor your art, but what the fuck? Like, what the seriously? What the fuck?
That's just,
this is not art
either. But
like,
again, like, how are you going to test something for fentanyl and then bring in ketamine like that? So one, that makes no fucking sense and it's bad storytelling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then two, fucking ketamine, really?
It was just weird to me, and it just stood out. I was just like, and the Bobby Cannavale's character, like, he gets filmed, and at the post credit sequences, the principal calls him and is like, we're gonna have to fire you, right? And he's like, yep, I'm out, and then he just leaves, which is kind of a funny bit, but like it doesn't really pay off. I don't know, like
no, because it doesn't. Yeah.
Going back to White Bird in a Blizzard, what movie was Sidibe in?
Because I have no idea.
She was like, and had she acted before? Did she forget how to act? Was she on ketamine?
I think so.
Because like all of her line reads were like she had not ever heard those words before.
I know.
Like she was so bad.
But I feel like, but also like any moments those three were together just were awful acting. All three of them.
Yeah.
All three of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like
this felt like a PSA. Like
right. No, it felt like an after school like special. The three of them sitting there, and like it's like none of them could read lines in a way that wasn't like they were just looking at the paper for the first time reading it.
Well, and we go back to how Araki, which is what my voice to text.
My voice
text said about Gregg Araki.
That made me laugh. Yeah.
But we go back to writing females, right? I mean, like in the dialogue that like again, what. I know that there's probably some teenage girl that's been like, hey, can I come over and fuck you? Or when are we going to fuck again? But I mean, like, I don't know. Like, it's just not like, not to say that there's certain rules you have to follow, but like, if you want me to believe that Shailene Woodley's a teenage girl who's like,
right. The point is it lands false.
Right. Set it up first, right?
Yeah.
Give me something. Like, here's the thing. Like in Heathers, you've established the characters for me. I understand that that's how they're going to speak.
Yeah.
Like Shailene Woodley, the first thing she says is like, when are we going to fuck again?
And you're like, what?
Right.
Right. It rings false. It lands bad on my ear. Right. I mean, and that's the bigger point.
Okay. So this or smiley face? As the worst one.
As the worst one, smiley face. I mean, look, I cannot get over that fucking film. At least this one I can be like, Eva Green.
Well, I guess that's true.
Right.
You can still go back to Eva Green's
performance.
What a wasted performance in a shitty
my God,
fucking film.
No kidding. I mean, she was in the right version of this film, but no one else was. Not even Araki.
Well, and I hope that I have not had a chance to see the series yet, and I hope that what he's doing next, like, has gotten him back to a place where he can make original stories and. Look, I'm sure that he wanted to do this. I'd be interested to know how he got attached to this and like how this happened. And look, I mean, maybe this is the filmmaker that he is at this point, and that's perfectly fine. He's done amazing work to this point. I mean, like, fine.
Yeah. So I mean, really, his best work is not adaptations of others,
right?
Except for Mysterious Skin. I think Mysterious Skin is the kind of outlier there, and I wonder if that's because the novelist had, I think, a fair amount of input into the screenplay, right? But these other things are just not. Someone else wrote Smiley Face, right? This is based on a novel that he then adapted, and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I mean, I'm not even sure like what he was going for, because like I said, these are like two different movies or multiple different movies that they just don't come together.
Yeah, all of his instincts and all of the things that were strong points for him previously have just kind of gone out the window. And I think, going back, I think the most disappointing thing to me is having Maloney's character be gay. I do feel like that's such a rug pull and such an insult.
Yeah.
Because you like you said, by the time we're in 88, 91, right? And like there's some vague mention, not vague, but there's some like light mention about how the gay kid couldn't have sex. He's got to worry about AIDS, that whole thing.
Right.
But like, yeah, I mean, all of it with the him jerking off to Hustler, to him, going into the office and all the women loving him and fawning over him and him flirting back with them.
Yeah.
And then to have this heel turn where he's gay and that's what caused him to kill his wife.
But yet he's got a new girlfriend.
Right.
Who's Laura Palmer.
Like, right. Like, and like, there's no character arc for him. So it'd be one thing if you followed him in his story, if you saw him unraveling and him like having to deal with the constraints of being a 1950s breadwinner, but also being
In the
attracted to
80s,
men, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
but see, in that I think is part. This is what happens when you stick so closely to that point of view, right? When Woodley or Kat becomes our narrator and POV character, we don't get to see anything else,
right?
And so we find out these moments, and they're just like tricks. They feel like tricks, right? We feel like we've been, purposefully, fooled into thinking one thing, and then gotcha, and it just it's like gotcha journalism, right? And it's
right.
It's exactly like that. No, but I mean, I think that is a point of view problem, right? So if everything's filtered through Kat, we don't get anything. We're not allowed to get anything else.
The much more interesting story is Eva Green's story.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, look, and then you can forgive a voiceover too because she's fucking dead. Like, I mean, look, Eva Green's jealous of her daughter who's blossoming into a beautiful young woman. She's
and Eva Green feels trapped,
and she's trapped in a marriage that because she's spent her entire life like
and cooking.
Although the timeline doesn't really work.
No, none of it works.
Like because like that's a 1950 standard that like but Woodley would have been born in 81. So like even if they were married,
no,
71.
Wait,
right.
She wasn't 7.
True. Sorry.
Colin.
Look, math is hard. All right.
No, I agree. Look, numbers make me sweaty. I don't like it. So
she would have been married in 71. So let's just say they got married in like 67, 68. Like that doesn't work.
No,
for
none of
like
this works.
That's like for the 50s outlook that they were saying. Even if Maloney was some sort of like actual realized character who put that upon her, it doesn't work at that point. Like, because they don't even have like a fucking, I mean, like, yeah, all of the things that would have been going on at that time, which is again why you've got to be careful in like these films that are set in the past. Just they're so tricky to pull off well without making it seem, just ridiculously contrived, right? Yeah. And like, so yeah, you're right. We get nothing because she, and again, the weird thing is that her character only gives a shit about having sex. And so she doesn't give a shit about her mom and she doesn't give a shit about her dad.
I know.
And so, but the story is ostensibly about her parents' relationship. It's the weirdest fucking movie, man.
I don't know what's going on. I have no idea.
It's so fucking bizarre.
It makes no sense.
Well, it's the last one. Yeah. Until the next one. But it's the last one.
Right? It's the last one till the next last one.
Well, it's the last one until Olivia Wilde comes out, right? It's still.
Oh yeah.
And then we'll have to watch that one.
They just started production. They're just starting production.
Well, they will on October 1st.
Yeah. Which is almost a month away.
Right.
All right.
No time between now and then to talk to a podcast.
He says after saying, "What the fuck is this movie?"
I don't even know why I'm upset. Like, really, because she did respond to me.
Are you really upset?
No,
like,
no,
are you?
Really
do you feel hurt?
I didn't really.
Okay,
but I
did get a response.
I still have other outlets too. I can reach directly out to Gregg. So.
Yeah. Be like, hey, don't listen to this last. Go listen to these episodes where we praise you effusively. Don't listen to this one.
Do you think that people listen? Do you think that celebrities go back and listen to the episodes to see what we're all about?
I don't know.
Do you think? Do you think if we got Araki on the horn, he'd be like, "What did those guys think of White Bird in a Blizzard?" I can't even say the fucking name of that.
White Bird in a Blizzard. I don't know. I don't know.
Damn, that title makes me angry.
I'm not sure why. I don't know why like celebrities would go back to. Well, I mean, I guess I do because their ego's involved, right?
Sure.
But at the same time, like, why do you want to read criticism of your work? Why do you want to hear criticism, good or bad, right? Because it shouldn't theoretically matter.
Oh, right.
I mean, it shouldn't matter what someone who's writing for the New York Times or two guys talking into microphones, really, really think about your work. That shouldn't matter to you.
Right.
Right. You shouldn't be making it for us.
Right.
Right. So I don't know. I'm sure some do. I mean, I'm sure that Paul Schrader has listened to all of our episodes.
I need to reach out to that motherfucker and get him on the horn.
Yeah, soon.
Yeah. The clock is ticking.
Right. Like, I don't think David Gordon Green gives a shit that we're like, that's it. We're going to quit. We're going to stop this series right now.
Like, you guys really missed out on my best work.
Well, I don't know that we're going to talk about nutcrackers. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know why you would. I don't know.
I agree with you. I mean, it's better if you don't.
Here's the thing. I will. So, like, for listeners who don't know, right? I teach in higher ed, right? Quote unquote teach. There's a tool out there called Rate My Professor, right? And it's for the students. The students, rate the professor so that they can be like, oh, I'm going to take this guy. People will say to me, have you looked at your Rate My Professor page? I'm like, absolutely not. I do not care. I don't care. Right? If you guys find it helpful, wonderful. I don't care. Because here's the thing. I know what I do well and what I do bad, right? Or what I do poorly. I know what I need to work on. I don't need...
I'm not gonna, but I know what it is.
Exactly, right? Look, knowing is half the battle, right? But I would imagine it's the same, or it should be the same, right, for these people.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But here's the other thing, too, is that...
And it's not going to change how we talk either. I mean,
no, absolutely not. But, I've written criticism on music and on books, and I've gotten responses from artists and writers who have clearly read what I wrote about them. I always thought that was, I don't know. I'm like, why are you reading like my work? Who cares?
Right.
Even though clearly I care, but again, it's not like for them. I'm not trying to make them feel good, right? I mean, I feel good. But
right.
So I don't know. I'm sure Araki doesn't.
I'm still going to reach out. Hopefully Duvall comes back and says something. If not, I'm just going to reach out to Noel and Liam, just see if I can get them on before their big tour. Hey, they're back. Everything's right in the world because Oasis is a band again. Step inside. They were the next Beatles, Brock. They were the next Beatles. They were our Beatles. We should have had them. And they couldn't get over their own goddamn egos. If Paul and John were related.
You realize that Brit pop stuff was around the same time that like shoegaze stuff was around.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Look, we have so little to grasp onto. Like, let's. I mean, like, but if those two can heal, why can't Israel and Palestine?
That is the topic for the next podcast.
We're gonna send Oasis to do a Jerusalem concert and also negotiate.
It's a different kind of wall concert, right? It's like Billy Joel and Perestroika and Glasnost,
yes.
But yet Noel and Liam and Gaza. Look, so yeah, next episode we're gonna figure out the Middle East problem. We are going to talk about Israel and Palestine and Oasis. But until then, here's Wonderwall.
Keep screaming. You have been listening to Why Does the Wilhelm Scream with your hosts, Brock and Jason. If you liked today's episode, do us a favor and rate, review, and subscribe in whatever application you use to consume podcasts these days. You can reach us by visiting whydoesthewilhelmscream.com. If you're in the DFW area, we would love to see you at a Fort Worth Film Club event. You can learn more about those and find a full schedule at fortworthfilmclub.com. And you can learn about my foundation and how we are trying to foster the next generation of film lovers at realhousefoundation.org. That's REEL housefoundation.org. Till next time.